I want to talk about what you need to have installed on your computer to follow along in this course. So I'm going to go over every single piece of software you need to have installed and configured on your local machine. And I'm also going to show you where you can go and download and install everything. So I'm not going to go through the process of showing you exactly how to install like Java on your computer. You can definitely find like hundreds of resources online to do that. And since this is not an entry level course, I'm assuming you already know how to like install Node.js or something. So the first piece of software you're gonna need is going to be Java. So you need to have the JDK installed. That's the Java development kit. So we're gonna be using Java to build the entire backend. So it only makes sense that you have the JDK installed on your computer. Next thing you need is going to be Node.js. Angular needs Node.js, so you definitely need to have Node.js installed on your computer whenever we're gonna be building the front-end application. If you don't want to do it right now, that's fine, because we're just gonna be working on the back end. But if you're gonna install, just install everything in one go. So yeah, you definitely need to have Node.js installed. Next, you're gonna need the Angular CLI. Now, once you have Node.js installed, you will have access to something called the Node Package Manager, and that's what you're gonna need to install the Angular CLI. Now, the Angular CLI, it's not absolutely necessary, but I would highly recommend you have the Angular CLI installed, because when you're working with Angular, it makes everything so much easier. So definitely have the Angular CLI installed on your computer. Next, you need to have MySQL database installed. So this is gonna require a little bit of configuration, because you need to set up a user and a password, or you just need a password for the root user. If you don't want to use the root user, which is not recommended, then you need to create a user and then set a password for that user so you can access the database. But I would say that's not really necessary unless you plan on going into production. You don't necessarily, you can use the root user, that's fine. I mean, you're just learning, you're taking a course, so that's not going to hurt anything, and it's only on your local. But it's going to require a little bit of configuration. It's not as straightforward as like Java or Node.js. But you definitely need to have MySQL installed, because that's going to be our database where we're going to store all the data. Next, you're going to need to have an IDE, and I'm going to put two IDE here. So you can have either IntelliJ or Eclipse. It doesn't matter to me. Either one is fine. I'm mostly gonna be using IntelliJ. It's really powerful also, but I've used Eclipse for like a very long time. I'm very comfortable with Eclipse, but I have to give it to IntelliJ. The people at JetBrains, those are the people who created this ID. It's extremely powerful. So you can either install IntelliJ or Eclipse. Doesn't matter to me. They're both great IDEs, to be honest. So yeah, either one of them is fine. Next, you need to have Visual Studio Code installed. That's just a text editor. But again, for all those three IDEs, you don't necessarily have to install them if you don't want to. If you just want to use Notepad or Notepad++ or any other text editors you have on your computer, if you're on a Mac or a Linux or whatever, that's totally fine, as long as you're comfortable with that. IDEs they just make developing so much easier, because they have code completion and things like that. It would be a good idea to have an IDE, but if you don't want to, that's fine, as long as you have something to write the code in. I'm totally fine with that. But Visual Studio Code is extremely powerful. Like, they have Git integration, and it's amazing. So definitely would recommend you have Visual Studio Code installed. And last but not least, you need to have Google Chrome installed. Now, I wouldn't say Internet Explorer or Edge. I don't think those are going to be very good for, at least for this course. But if you have Firefox, that's fine. But I'm going to be using Google Chrome, and I'm going to be doing a lot of debugging in the front end using Google Chrome, the tools that you have in Google Chrome. So I would definitely recommend you install Google Chrome. But if you don't want to, you want to use Firefox, for instance, Firefox is really nice. You can keep that as well. But those are just the things that I'm going to be using. And if you really want to just do everything that I'm doing in the course, yeah, sure, go ahead and do that. But if you're experienced, like things, I mean, you don't necessarily have to install like IntelliJ or Eclipse if you don't want to. Now let's take a look at where you can go ahead and then download those software and then install the software on your computer. So for Java, you have to go to oracle.com. Once you get to Oracle, I mean, it's gonna be pretty straightforward. You can click on this menu right here, and to the right down there it says download. You can click there. It should take you to the download, and if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see Java. You can click on it or just scroll down, and here's the Java develop for the JDK for developers. So you can install it. Just click on it and just follow, accept the license, and just follow the prompts. For Node.js, you have to go to nodejs.org and you have to download the recommended for most users. If you don't want to, you want the latest features, that's fine. Either one will work in this situation. But most people would use the most stable version, which is this version, the one that says for recommended for most users. So most people would use this instead of this if they want something more stable. But again, I mean, you're not really gonna have a lot of problems if you want to go with the latest features. But just to be safe, just go with the recommended for most users. And that's just, I think if you just click on it, you will just download, and then it's an executable file. You just go through the prompts again. Very simple. Depending on your operating system, if you have another operating system like Linux or something, you might have to click on here and it will take you to different downloads. So once you have that installed, you can go to cli.angular.io, and this npm, you will have it once you have Node installed. That's the Node package manager, and all you have to install is the Angular CLI. And this G stands for global, meaning you can open your command line anywhere and just run any ng command, which is the CLI command, and it will work fine. That's what that means. That means you install it everywhere on the computer. So once you install Node.js, you just have to come in here into cli.angular.io and then install the Angular CLI. Now you only have to run this first command. You don't need to run those three. We're not gonna be creating an Angular application just yet, so you just have to run this first one. Now I want to show you why I'm doing this. So let's go into the official website of Angular, so angular.io, and let's do maybe setup or something. So set up local environment. So here, if you click on here, right, you can see for a prerequisite it says, before you begin, make sure you have Node.js installed. So once you have Node.js installed, then you have the Node package manager, which is npm, and then you can install the Angular CLI right here. All right, and then you're good to go to create your app. So that's exactly what I just showed you. Now for MySQL, you just have to go to mysql.com. Once you get there, just go to download, and then you can download the community server from here, and then go through the prompts again. Just set a user if you don't want to use the root user. If you want to use the root user, that's fine. You'll just have to set a password for it. Next one is IntelliJ. So you just have to go to jetbrains.com and go to tools, I believe. Yep. And then down here you see IntelliJ IDE, and you just click on that, and then you download it right here. It's really, really powerful IDE. Very nice, beautiful UI. Very powerful. So yeah, that's where you get IntelliJ IDE. Next is Eclipse. Well, you don't need to have both of them, but I'm just giving you the flexibility. If you like IntelliJ, go for it. If you like Eclipse, go for Eclipse. You just have to go to eclipse.org and then click on this download here. It will take you to the download page, and you just have to click again, or maybe it's gonna start automatically the download. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they changed it. This looks really nice. That's a new website. I didn't even know it looked like this until I put in the URL and then fetch their website. So that's Eclipse. Visual Studio Code, you just have to go to code.visualstudio.com, and then here we go again. Simple download an executable file. If you have a different operating system that's not Windows, I think by default it will be your operating system. I think they run some code in the back end or maybe in JavaScript to find out what your operating system is. So they'll just show you the default here. Otherwise, just click your operating system here. And again, Chrome, you don't necessarily need to have it. If you have Firefox, that's fine. I would say I would not recommend Internet Explorer or Edge. but you can just go to google.com/Chrome and you can have Chrome downloaded here. And one last thing I want to show you is the emulator that I'm going to be using, and it's called cmdr.net. So if you go over this website, you will see this page and you can install it if you want. That's just the one that I have it installed here. That's this little icon you have down here. So it looks like this. It's just an emulator. You can run some Unix command even if you're on Windows. That's why I like it. And you can, one of the best thing about this is the copy paste. I can just do Control-C, Control-V. Like you can't do that using the command prompt. And if you're a Windows user, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to be using this. So the reason I want to show you this is because I want to show you exactly how to check to make sure that you have those things I just talked about installed on your local computer. So I'm going to open the cmdr, and I need to check for Java, I need to check for Node.js, I need to check for Angular. So to check for Java, after you've installed everything, you just have to do, let me make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. So you type in Java, and I think it's -version. And there you go. So I have version 1.8. That's good enough. I think if you do download Java like right now in 2020, it's going to be version 13, which is also fine. But at least you need to have 1.8. Once you have that, you should be good. So if you type in the command Java version and you have something back, you didn't get an error, that means Java was installed. Next is Node.js. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this real quick. So if we do Node, I think it's -V for Node, and there we go. I have 12.14.1, which is the latest version as of February 2020. So let's go ahead and clear that. Now, if you want to check to see if you have the Angular CLI installed, you just have to do, I think it's ng-version. And there we go. So let me make this bigger. So yeah, they have this nice Angular CLI, and here's the version for the Angular CLI command line interface, and here's my Node version and some other information about my operating system and so on. So that's all you need to have. Once you have this software installed, you should be good to go.